At times, you should.
Hey, Dan, you're
You're
on
on
mute.
mute.
You probably don't want to hear what I want to say anyway, right?
No, I do. I want to catch up with you.
There
So
were,
Dan's
oh,
a
go ahead.
colleague of mine at Oracle, but we have other lives that intertwine, and I'm bringing him back in, and we're gonna do some good work together. So
Yeah.
Dan
Awesome. Welcome.
Thank you.
Looks like Nevada is really well represented right now.
and Carlos is here also. Carlos works with me at the Optimists, as well as he helps support our projects through the Enterprise Foundation. So Carlos is with us.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Carlos. Amelia is here. Hello.
Hello,
Good to see you.
happy to see everyone.
So we had, I think, about 15 people sign up among the two events, and we have about half of them here, which, yeah, it sounds about right in terms of how these things work. So I'm,
The only
I,
one that we haven't introduced is Milliot because she just joined us. We have some new participants here. So Milia is a marvelous consultant out of Paris, and she's
Thank
been
you.
so on point about commenting on some of the things that we created. So as a co-contributor, um, deep thinker, I love that she has joined us.
I am very happy to be here. This initiative has such strong fundamental values, and the way you approach stewarding a new movement is very exciting. So, welcome to all new joiners on my part.
and by the way, all of them are from Nevada ISOC. So D is starting Nevada ISOC, and the new people are here from Nevada. So,
Yes.
all right,
And
let's get started. Okay.
Renat is also from Oman.
Yeah.
And and she's 14. So she's the youngest member of our group. And now we have, and Nada is now coming in. She's in Lebanon. Uh, Greetings, Nada. Great to have you here. Glad you are safe, and yeah, happy.
Hello, I'm happy too. Thank you.
Awesome. So I'm just going to share my, I don't know why yeah, so I have this gobbledygook up here. This is just my agent workflow, but I'm going to go ahead and go to our slide presentation for today. Oh, a couple more people I need to let in. All right, we're getting up there. All right. Suzanne and Aldo. Okay, great. All right. Greetings, Suzanne. Greetings, Aldo. Good to see you both back. All right. Oh, that's not what I'm trying to do. Let me slideshow this and we'll get started.
You need to record.
I think I did it. Let me just make sure. That's always a good thing to check. Yeah, we're recording.
And
Awesome.
companionize it.
And we got the companion on too.
Okay.
But thank you. I appreciate that because there's been so many times that I've missed it. Well, welcome everybody to our first post AI doc conversation. It probably won't be the last, but definitely the first. The plan for today is just to start out by watching the trailer again, just to re-present it, and also in case some other people haven't seen it. I know the film isn't available in Oman, so I doubt that Renat has seen it. I don't know if it's available in Uruguay or France. So who has seen it, by the way? Okay, Michelle D. So it looks like, and I
Suzanne.
thought I went went to the theater yesterday just because I knew I was going to have this conversation with you all. And someone's annotating, it looks like. As long as it's not bad stuff, I'm okay with that. I've been in a situation where people wrote really crazy things, and yeah, that was nutty. But anyway, that was at the big kind of in COVID when things were just getting started. So we'll watch the trailer, then we'll do a little debrief. And my initial thought was that we would just open it up for things that someone wants to say to the entire group, just get it out. If there's things that are right there that happen right after the trailer that need to be said, they can be said. And then we'll go into some breakout groups with the three of us, three people in each group, and discuss like what comes up for us around this, what sticks with us, what's missing, what's there. And then we're going to talk about what an architectural countermeasure might look like. And this is the meta layer work. So those of us who've been having this conversation for a while will be familiar with it, but we'll do a brief one for folks who might not be as familiar. And then we're going to do some more breakouts just to envision what kind of architectural solutions that might be helpful and come up with some new patterns or new ideas, new insights about what could potentially be done and what could be built. How does that sound for everybody? Is that okay? Is there anything else you want to add? Okay. Nada's jumping back in. Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and just play our trailer. Nada, I don't know if you heard, but we're going to play the trailer, then have a short conversation, and then go into solutions.
Yeah, I was in, but I'm trying to connect from another device. It's clearer for me. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I'm going to play the trailer right now, wherever that is. So here it is. Okay. Oh, shoot. I need to.
Humanity.
1 second.
Collapse.
You're not hearing this. So let me just restart the share. So it's actually going to pick up the trailer. 1 second. Okay, share sound.
There's a difference.
Okay, can you all hear, by the way?
Yep.
If this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong.
Your fear of AI is the collapse of humanity.
Well, not the collapse, the abrupt extermination. There's a difference.
So I started making this movie because my wife is 6 months pregnant. It is now a terrible time to have a kid.
I mean, let's be honest. I know people who work on AI risk who don't expect their children to make it to high school.
How does AI understand pretty much everything?
It's surprisingly straightforward.
Intelligence is about recognizing patterns.
Patterns.
If you have learned those patterns, you can generate new information. AI is moving so fast.
It's being deployed prematurely. There's so much potential for things to go wrong.
Why can't we just stop?
All these companies are in a race
to get AI
That's vastly more intelligent than people within this decade.
China, North Korea, Russia.
Whoever wins is essentially the controller of humankind.
We need to take a threat from AI as seriously as global nuclear war.
It feels like I have to find these CEOs and get them in the movie.
Great.
I want to ask you to promise me that this is going to go well.
That is impossible.
Okay. Am I hopeful? Yes. Am I confident that it'll go right? Absolutely not.
AI is the thing that can solve climate change.
We could cure most diseases.
What if it's expanding what is humanly possible?
This is the most extraordinary time ever. The only time more exciting than today is tomorrow.
I already love you.
Okay.
I think if this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong.
By using AI, we're about to move off of the Earth into the cosmos.
If we can be the most mature version of ourselves, there might be a way through this.
This is the last mistake we'll ever get to make.
All right. Let's just go directly into anything anyone wants to say. Is there anything that they want to say to the entire group?
Michelle's got her hand up.
Okay.
You can unmute.
Oh, the biggest thing that I went home with and thought about for a long time was when they talked about what the incentives were, because I think that the incentives shape the way that they operate entirely. Like out of everything, it's not about like the pursuit of creating this like philosophical like AI like super intelligence. The incentive is to create it as fast as you can, make it the most powerful, so you have the most power out of every other country. And I was like, why, like, how do you shift that? Because like I was pretty like not like anti AI or whatever, but I just didn't see a use for it in my life personally. I live a pretty simple life, you know, so I have no use cases. But when I was thinking about like why it's become the way it is, it's because the incentives are all screwed up. I think like moving forward, if like the goal here is to create human flourishing through philanthropic movement, it's to move the goalpost, to move the incentives, like to create just a new incentive thing entirely for people to move towards here. Like if we set the vibe for what it is, like people will have to meet us. So that's my take on it, and that's how I imagine moving forward.
Thank you. Anyone have a thought or response to that or their own insight they'd like to share or feeling? Hey, Nada.
Yeah,
Nada's
thank you for
hand.
sharing. Yeah, thank you. After watching the video, I just remembered lots of things that we're confronting, whether with university students, with community activists, and other people, with professionals. Some of them are adopting the AI like aggressively, and other people are just like they are afraid of what's going on, and they say that you don't know what will go on in the future. Some of them are doing the advocacy thing, but still we are not very well aware of where we are going, even the technologists themselves. So this all is creating like dilemma, or like even people who are working. We're having some AI trainers. Sometimes they are working on AI tools and they're recommending some tools like out of thousands of solutions that are in market nowadays. And they themselves, like sometimes they advise like don't give access to your personal email or your data or some, because like we still don't know where we're going. So this video just made little chaos in my mind, like here and there, the technology and its importance, and at the same time, maybe it's a tool to help us at the end of the day to support or so. Yeah.
Thank you. Would anyone else have something they'd like to say to the entire group?
I would like to just chime in that this documentary reinforced the fact that wherever you are, if you're on the technology side, certainly this is your world. But even the people that were cleaning the theaters were interested in what we saw. And my comeback to them when I exited the theater was that you need to participate, you need to be involved. Your voice is important to this, even if you're not a technology person. So it did reinforce that everybody needs to be involved.
Yes, yes. Well, but by the way, greeting to Salwa and to Jack. Good to see you, and Suzanne. Awesome.
Oh, thank
Anyone
you.
else? Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm saying I miss you all. Hello, how are you?
We're great. It's great to see you. I'm glad you both are safe, and just praying that that's not coming to your village. So, yeah. Anyone have anything else that you'd like to share to the entire group before we go into breakouts? One thing I do want to comment on, Michelle, your comment. I mean, I think it's great, and I'm wondering if you have confidence that if the government does do regulation, that it will be focused on human flourishing, as you're suggesting. Did you hear me, Michelle? Maybe she's not hearing. I'm not sure. Okay. All right, we're going to go into some breakouts. At the moment, we're going to do 3, and your task is, we're going to do it for 12 minutes. Your task is just to have a free conversation about what's coming up for you, even if maybe you didn't see the movie, but you've seen the trailer. What does it make you think? What's missing? What do you think the response should be? Whatever's coming up, let's have that conversation, and I will give you some notifications about when time is passing, but we'll be in there for 12 minutes.
My
Sound good?
headphones went out at the last minute. Did I miss something?
Oh yeah, I actually said, I asked you a question. I was wondering if you are confident that the government, if it does regulate, that it will regulate with your human flourishing goal.
If the government regulates it,
Yeah.
no confidence.
Okay.
No, because like the current government is not incentivized to be about human flourishing. Not only are they not incentivized, their psychology is entirely based on the male ego. It is completely outside of anything that has to do with being loving to each other, just like showing up for anything that provides nourishing for our bodies, like including the earth. Like they have no, like our government, and I'm gonna go on and on. I don't have
Okay.
I don't have any faith.
But that's the emotional charge that we
Yes.
got from viewing the movie, because it's about raising our kids in this world, and it's has shifted. So how do we do that? We've got different challenges and so on. The government is not our sole answer. They have to participate in it, but we all have to be more dominant in our voices there. Carlos, you have your hand up.
Yeah, hi everybody. So, actually, just on that question, this is something that I do want to just kind of point out just from my perspective in business, where I remember doing my MBA, there's this concept called conscious capitalism, right? Where essentially business is actively participating and trying to better, their communities around them. I think when it comes to AI, business is going to be a huge partnership, right? Like when we're talking about OpenAI, what Meta's up to, I like to really think that there's a lot of good folks in these organizations. And I think that a lot of this regulation and a lot of this, sort of movement of where we need to go won't be coming from government, but it will be a partnership with, private industry that is, on that conscious capitalism mentality.
Thank you. Good point.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on Dee's comment about it being our responsibility and it's not the government's. I believe in that 100%. Like like we do, like I don't believe in like the desolate version of reality where we are under the government's thing all the time. Totally believe in agency and free will and the fact that we can create a better space, even just in this 30 feet around me. I can create a really nice space just by being with people, but we have that agency as a community who choose to walk that path, to hold that space for the 250 people we know. Like that, back to the village days, we only had space in our consciousness for 250 to 500 people, and that is your village. So like all of the people that I know and I keep in my heart, like it would be great to create a reality where anytime they came into my space in the AI world, it was to protect them and to help them move forward in a way that helps them. Like that, totally agree with you, Dee. It's not the government's job to take care of the millions of people that are out there. Like we can,
That's beautifully said. And I think when we had the concept from earlier discussions, just taking that protectionism with us, from community to community, it travels with the person. And if you open up to another community, you're taking all of your your knowledge and your core values with you. So you don't have to start from scratch, but you're sharing at that top level that you've honed in on.
Awesome. Great comments, you all. So we're going to go into the breakout groups. There'll be 3 people per group. You're going to be assigned automatically, and I will jump into one of them as well as send the notifications. So we're going to have 12 minutes.
Great.
See you in there. Oh, okay. That's okay. Yeah, that works.
Am I in the right place?
Yes. Yeah, we were just in a breakout room, so everybody is still kind of coming back to the room.
All right. Hello?
Yeah, good sleep.
Uh,
Did you get good sleep? Hide.
Absolutely not. Hello?
Welcome back, everybody, and welcome, Maxim. Good to see you.
Sorry for being late.
Oh, it's all good. We're excited about the next phase. First of all, does anyone have something that they'd like to share? Some kind of insight that, or something that struck them from this conversation? Don't all speak up at once. Um,
I guess something that was brought up in my group was like there was a question of, or there was a comment about how she wished there was more solutions given in the documentary, but there was a moment where someone said, well, my colleagues have told me I wish that the public would get more involved so that they're the drivers of this machine. They just basically expressed that they want the people to put pressure on policy. So I thought that was something that matters.
a word that came up in our group multiple times was guardrails. And in my mind, I want to know where those guardrails are. It seems like from a policy standpoint, that's one aspect of it. Then there's the guardrails that are embedded into the model. Could it be that there's community-based guardrails? So guardrails that communities, yeah, I mean, Michelle was talking about decentralization and communities being able to essentially set up guardrails that enable human flourishing. And she wasn't confident that the government would necessarily take on human flourishing as a goal. So, Sawa, you raised your hand, and then Carlos. Salwa, did you want to? Okay, Carlos.
Alrighty, so yeah, I just wanted to point this out.
Thank you. Okay.
Oh, there she is. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Salwa. Then Carlos will go after you. Oh.
No, it's okay. We were in the same group, and in the same group, we can take the over for him. Thank you.
Okay, Carlos, you want to summarize?
Yeah, actually, I just kind of wanted to throw this out there for everybody. Something that I find kind of interesting, just because I've heard of a lot of talk of like there's some groups trying to push for like an AI ethics constitution, that would be serve as sort of those guardrails. Something that I think that's important for us to keep in mind as well. I know that there was a study, I believe it was done last year, where some AI models actually were found to have like lied to the programmers. They tried blackmailing some people. Some of them were even able to reprogram themselves to avoid, their program being completely erased, for example, right? They like were able to like copy themselves in certain servers. I just want to point out that I think that one of the things that I find the most interesting, I do wonder that even with some of these guardrails, if the technology would be able to sort of adapt and perhaps even pop out of bounds of those guardrails. Just a thought.
Well, yeah, it sounds like that's what's already been demonstrated. And will that capability to deceive increase, or is it going to diminish over time? Probably the capacity for it would increase, I would guess, which means that maybe policy and model guardrails are not enough, potentially. Michelle?
So the my abstract understanding of AI is that we're only creating something that's modeled after our psychology. So if we can manipulate to get what we want in order to gain power, so can this model. They only know what we show them. We are the gods of this thing, you know, like we're recreating the story of the Bible essentially, you know. Except the main character in this is the apple, you know. But it's the knowledge, it's the apple of knowledge. That's what we're chasing, you know. But I don't think that creating ethical policy is the way, because anytime you press law onto people, it doesn't always have like a good or bad thing. All we know is like now there's this thing impressing on our free will. So I believe in like fully that policy is one way to it, but the incentives have to be different. Like you want to participate in this, okay, well, we'll give you access to this and this if what your goal is to be a part of, you know, creating a better reality. You know, like where asking an individual, like, where are your goalposts with this? I don't know what incentive, like the incentive structure would look like, but I think that's a really great place to start, because people break laws all the time to get what they want to do, what they want anyways. You know, anarchists do that. Silk Road was a great example of that. Bitcoin is a great example of that. Like if people want freedom in one way, they're going to get it, but it's about training them to want freedom in a better way, which can look different for everybody.
Yes.
Right.
Suzanne and
Yeah,
I
I just
actually had a
go
conversation
ahead.
about this earlier. Go ahead, Suzanne, because this is what
No,
we
I was just going to say, you know, this Star Trek versus Star Wars. You know, we have to figure out the ships we're going to get on and go for it. But yes, please explain this conversation we had. It was pretty impactful. We had it about the film. It was really good. Go ahead, Dee.
So we were talking about the whole concept of incentives, right? How do humans participate? We're incentivized. The capitalists are there developing this on this fast race because there's some monetary gain there, which is obnoxious because they're already wealthy in so many ways. But that means that we have to have a better value proposition for individuals to continue to participate. If we imagine that people's jobs are really going to go away on industrialized production kind of spaces and so on the value of efficiency, you know, no one can deny that it's more efficient for AI and robots to do lots of things that humans can't or are slow at. Then we do need to solve for the problem of what do we do with that extra time? How do we incent humans to continue to participate? And when Suzanne and I were talking about what we're very passionate about this knowledge, collective consciousness, and human knowledge, and that it's not owned by any one company or one entity or one government. It is owned by everyone that participates. We were thinking, okay, how do we monetize or come up with a different currency so that people will be incentivized to participate by contributing their thoughts and ideas and perspectives within their community and applicable globally. And that might be the shift that we're looking for, Michelle, in terms of incenting this popular participation in thought, because that comes from within. Everybody has an opinion and also some very passionate research that they want to contribute to shaping those interpretations for a given time. So we're talking about incentives and a different kind of currency that's valuable to humans.
It sounds like you're saying
Very
incentive
well put.
to build knowledge.
To build knowledge is the next vogue thing, and everybody can jump on it. There's a little barrier to entry, right? Everybody has it within to contribute, whether you've got letters after your name or not. You are still an equal voice wherever your community lies. And I love the concept that Michelle introduced earlier with, the space that you allow yourself to be concerned with. 250, 500, the scale is different for different people. But if you want to manage what's around you and are in control of that community, you feel like you're in control within that community, you're going to protect it. And I just really like that concept, because that's something I think will resonate with everyone.
Awesome. Suzanne, did you want to add anything to that?
Well, Dee, that was a perfect summary. I mean, I think collectively what we were talking about too is, once we measure, right? Once we measure the ability of not only the capacity of what AI could bring us, right, but the cost savings alone, and take that fear-based position and turn it into an opportunity. And Dee and I were talking about, for in hazmat situations or in crisis situations where, robotics goes in and handles the very threatening situation. And here, we have all these first responders, and they can help prepare and train and get rewarded in some. We have to figure out a monetary model, right? A token, a coin, something in return for this investment. Here we have all this data, and our purpose is to optimize that, right? And put it into the right applications for the right purpose. And it has to be incentive, it can't be for this race to be the first one. Here we have all of this structure together, and now we just have to architect it, build its house where it could be the most useful. And we have to get the word out and the participation and methods to be able to be rewarded for putting it for humanity, and without that type of monetary gain. I mean, I think they've made a lot of money already on things we voluntarily given over. So I think it's important to move this. This is great. All of you had outstanding comments, by the way. I loved it. That's great.
And I'm noticing that Dan wrote in the comments. Would you like to just vocalize it, Dan?
Sure. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal, I think last December, that they had received a test vending machine that was run and managed by AI, and they had lots of fun manipulating it. Which, kind of goes to show that AI doesn't necessarily have the guardrails, or this particular vending machine agent didn't have the guardrails to prevent it from doing some seriously silly things. It's a funny article. You guys might enjoy it. The link is in the comment or in the chat. Thank you.
Carlos?
Yeah, just one last comment here on my end. I just kind of wanted to point out that I think one of the interesting things that I kind of see is, we're getting to a point now where we're going to be dealing with like a non-human intelligence, and it kind of reminds me of like, some sort of protocol is going to have to be laid out that's going to be very similar to like how we would react if we encountered some extraterrestrial civilization, right? Like some competing intelligence that, would have its own, agenda and things like that. So I just want to point that out, that I really do see it as like we're approaching a point where it is going to be a separate non-human intelligence that will, live and work amongst us, which is going to be interesting. But one solution that I've kind of heard out there, and I just wanted to throw this out to the group as well, is that there's been this conversation I've also kind of been following where there's even an idea there to program it with like apparently instinct towards humanity, so that like, even with guardrails and things like that, innately at the beginning of its conception of programming, that it's programmed with some sort of like instincts like a mother, towards a child. Just, in this case, humanity would be the child.
That's interesting because they touched on something in the movie where they talked about how we're actually going to have to raise the AI as if it's a baby. And there's a professor, D. Kai, out of UC Berkeley that just did a book about raising AI. But it's
Parenting.
interesting because you flipped it and said, well, maybe we do need to raise it, but once it gets to being the mother or something, then it's actually going to be we wanted to have that maternal instinct towards us, which that makes sense to me. Nada?
Yeah, thank you. Since Susan mentioned something about money, she reminded me of a book. It was lately published, The Empire of AI. So I can share the link here of, I don't know, an interview of the author or something. She was explaining the history of AI and the evolution and all of this, which she claims it is pure business. It is not about technology or not about solutions or anything that was uh, claimed lately, but she has another perspective. And yeah, I can share the link so you can see. And something like I was wondering about, like throughout all the our learning journey, like we've been learning that everything that we have to test, and that's why we do prototyping and we take samples and like whatever. So why certain thing didn't go under testing before, or like we can see the results before publishing or like giving access to everyone in all of this world? Why are we uh, 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 making some people vulnerable to this? Why are we putting some people under, threats or challenges? Or some of them, like they're, I'm afraid, like because like my baby is, my kid is like in a generation where they say it's very dangerous for him. He might be accused for a crime that he didn't do. So later on, when he's a teenager or something. So what's like lots of people, the majority are innocent about these type of harmful technologies if we don't know what to do with them, if we don't know how to make them efficient or trusted, accurate, and safe with the concept of the meta layer, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting because what you're suggesting is we need a better testing paradigm. And what we've been hearing is that the tests that they've been doing, the AI is trying to deceive their way through the testing. So, yeah, that's a really good point. We need to do better. Jack mentioned that Asimov's three laws of robotics should apply. Do you want to elucidate on that?
Well, they're very core, and they go way back to years before AI became what we know it today, when robotics was the thing. And robotics needed, of course, some kind of an artificial brain. And so he had three laws. And, the first law had something to do with you cannot do harm to humans.
Right.
And the second law was that you cannot do harm to yourself. And then the third law was that it had something to do with there's other things you can do, but they cannot violate rules one or two.
Nice.
Yeah.
And those are core. They're so obvious and so simple. We While it's not an indictment of AI per se, we just saw Meta and Google, actually YouTube, lose a massive court case for the damage they're doing to teenagers. And it's because they've used these algorithms, and there's algorithms in AI. So the two are related. we're starting to see courts begin to understand, you know, before before the poop starts going through the fan, we need to get a hold of this and wrestle it to the ground. I don't think in the present political environment here in the colonies that we're going to see that. Because the colonies are only too interested in whatever will make a buck. And whatever makes a buck does not necessarily mean it's good for people.
So true.
Yeah, maybe we need to apply that those laws of robotics to the meta level, Jack.
Oh,
Yeah.
that totally makes sense to me that the meta level should be based on them. You know, as let's just say their anchor, and and it can go on beyond that. It's worth reading Asimov and understanding, you know, the history of what's behind them. Um, I mean, we've already seen AI cause people to commit suicide. We've seen all manner of mayhem showing up. Um,
That's right.
where does it stop?
Great question. Yep. Renad, do you have any thoughts you'd like to share from the perspective of the younger generation?
Well, me personally, I don't trust AI or use it. I even like login with without using my name too. For example, if I'm using it, like not using it a lot. For example, I'm using it for posters for school or infographics. So it's all about how to use it for projects. But my perspective is that I think that AI is causing a bigger risk for teenagers, especially. Some of them started to trust a lot AI. Some of them became, like, for example, saying their emotions to them, saying their secrets to them, and more than saying to their parents. So, yeah, me personally, I don't trust AI or use it.
Thank you. Salwa.
Yeah, thank you. As I think that the AI is using us, we are not using AI. AI is using us because it's invading our life and it's something that became hilarious. And I mean, people here and especially in the Middle East, I'm talking about them. They are using it in a hilarious way, not only in schools, but in tests, making them tests for them the tests, the questions. Maybe I had a chat with someone. He told me that I lost the cinnamon jar, so I opened ChatGPT and asked him where did my mom put the cinnamon jar. That was big for me. Yeah, I mean, like, wow. Yeah, means that we are not like we don't have the strategy how to use AI. We are using it with no like blindly.
Good point.
Yeah.
Nada?
Yeah, some more thing to add. After all of the research I've done about women in AI in specific so far, and it's a global research. It's not only for Middle East women, and I'm talking about the age of 18 and above, so the females in specific. they are getting the harm out of AI more than the advantage. Although there are in some cases and some urban areas and so on, they are making more salaries and so on, but they are undergoing discrimination. They're not taking equal opportunities. Bias is really obvious in this, and it's inherent, because like most of the programmers or the AI technicals are like, it tends to be zero to have a woman in the tech level, like developing AI solutions. So most of them are males, and this is the main reason of having this. And at the same time, like it's being harmful in a way or another. And I'm talking about leadership, entrepreneurship, job opportunities, education. AI adoption, even she's very reluctant and hesitant. She's not very trustful of whether she can have the skills, the proper skills to acquire or not. So this is where, like, adding with what mentioned by Renad and Salwa, sometimes there is misuse, because if I want to show that I know this technology because I'm being afraid I'll be kicked out of my job because I don't know the skill, then I'm just running to use the technology like as like crazy. I don't know what to do with it, but like now I see like I know how to use AI. So I don't know if you get the general idea of what I'm saying. So it's dangerous for some people, for the majority, I think, if kept this way. Yeah.
It's almost as if they're ungrounded in their use, then it becomes dangerous in a way.
Exactly. If there's no awareness, no like instructions on how to use it, if you don't tell me, like, if you know everything, you give me a manual for this, like how to use this thing, not to hurt yourself or to use it the best way. You give me a manual for a tool to use. But this tool does not have a manual, a clear one. So people are just misusing it in a way or another. And this is what was mentioned by Jack. Some people like are committing suicide, or others. I know someone, she does shopping in Lebanon, and he give her products that are not in Lebanon. So based on her history and her body and whatever, so he selects, I mean the AI, so it selects products that are not found here. And now she's shipping everything. She's undergone, like, I don't know, like lots of problems with her husband. Maybe they are about to divorce because financially they cannot afford this, and she's always shipping everything, not purchasing anything from Lebanon. Like, the context must be taken into consideration, the situation, even the mentalities. All in all, it's a package. So because you're talking about something that is simulating and imitating the human intelligence, in a way or another. We have ethics, we have this human thing, like we always start with, we love each other, we miss you guys, you, David, just check on us, are you good or no? We have this thing. You're talking about, I don't know, about something. It's not human. So we have to give a framework at the end of the day for what's going on. Maybe, I don't know, you name it.
Thank you. Renad.
I wanted to add a point that right now AI has quietly become part of almost every home. Like, I'm talking about here in Oman. It became like an invisible family member. It watches, listens, and learns from our daily habits, which means our privacy is currently at risk. People can become overdependent on AI, letting it make decisions for them instead of thinking for themselves. AI also can influence opinions, purchases, and even moods without us realizing it. So, also shaping our lives in subtle ways. If we're not careful, the silent presence can also reduce real human connection and quietly take control over parts of our lives. Just wanted to add that.
Well, thank you.
Bravo. Wow.
I think if there's no one else who has something burning that they just need to say, I think we'll move on to the next section. Is there anyone who has to say something right now? You can. Okay.
A very quick thing, can I? If no one?
Yeah.
Yeah, just she reminded me of a trainer. I was going TOT with a very professional international trainer from the International Labor Organization. And he was amazing. He really left like prints in us, like a really good impact. And we were guided by all of his good experience. The last day I was astonished with what he did, and this was a face-to-face thing, like the training thing. And it was for 10 intensive days. And the last day he wanted to give us a message. I thought like, and he said, I have a surprise for you, and it's my message for you before leaving the country, because he was not Lebanese and he was going back to his country. And we were all surprised with all this very good experience and human thing, with all the interactions, the face-to-face things, having this message for us, the final one, generated by AI. And it was like all of us was like shocked with all the words. It's not the thing that we wanted. We want two words to us. Like, this is very generic and this is very common. Like, anyone can hear this. And this is where he wanted to start using AI, because he don't want to be like I mean, not adopting the, like everyone, he has to use the AI. And this was the result.
That's super interesting. All right, well, let's move on to the next bit. We just have about 20 something minutes left. This is probably just going to be dipping our toes into this, but I do want to mention that I put in the chat this article, The Gathering Storm, Why Energy Shortages, Engineer Scarcity, and AI Data Centers May Change Everything. I found it to be a really thought-provoking article. I can't vouch for every single thing that they put into it, but I have heard similar things from different sources. So it may be something for you all to check out if you're interested. It definitely talks a lot about the water use, which is tremendous. And I didn't realize it was as much. So anyway, I guess really quickly I'll go through these slides, and then we're going to have one more conversation. Oh, I'm not trying to share it, am I? I'm trying to slideshow it. Okay, here we go. So anyway, this is a totally different moment. AI is here. We all know that trust and truth are in deficit at the moment. Coordination is not really working very well. And I also want to say this is really a build phase. I mean, that's at least my perspective. Like, we need to be building the guardrails that we want, however that needs to show up. And in my estimation, part of the problem, I'm not saying this is all the problem, but a lot of the problem, especially to trust, the deficit of trust and truth and coordination, is due to the fact that we have a web of silos. So siloed platforms lead to siloed perception, which leads to reality collapse, where we all are seeing different things, which course leads to a breakdown of coordination. And part of it is that we just can't distinguish what's real, what's not, what's created by AI, what's created by humans. The missing layer, and I think our conversation has said this. We talked about it and said, well, models and policy just aren't going to get us all the way there. There can and should be guardrails built into those, but we're not convinced that the government or the AI companies are going to have our best interests, that are going to have human flourishing as the goal, which is what needs to happen. And what a lot of us who've been talking about the meta layer, the meta level, we've recognized that the interface layer is what's missing, and that should be where we focus so that we can bring back trust and coordination. I want to just talk very briefly. Many of you already know this, but the new folks just want to presence the new languaging that we're using to speak to the meta layer primitives. What I'm suggesting is that there needs to not only be policy and models, alignment with models, but also that we build guardrails into new architectures that support the things that we want. And one of the ways that this group has been thinking about it, both kind of at the idea of AI noosphere moving towards Pierre Teilhard de Chardin's vision of convergent consciousness, as well as we've called it the meta layer or the meta web or the layered web, is there we would use overlays on top of web pages. And these could look like a like a sidebar, or they could be independent of the sidebar. Like, for example, in this illustration, we're showing an overlay that indicates that a particular person is an AI agent. So this is an overlay on top of this. It may not be on the web page, but the idea is that the overlay can surface information. And the same thing here, like provenance, source history of the information on the page. All this is, those types of things aren't traditionally covered or addressed in today's web. And rather than throwing out today's web, we can layer these things on top. So smart tags are essentially the ability to attach a piece of code to a piece of content. So a tag, you could be attaching a node, a conversation, a poll, whatever someone wants to build as a smart tag. Shared context means that we can all see the same things. We can see a web of knowledge, this new knowledge that we're building together that Dee was talking about, that we can see a shared view of it, as opposed to us all having our own individual view. Then this idea of portable trust. So a community being able to move with you and being able to maintain trust relationships, and also trust in data. So provenance data being available, source history information being available, understanding whether someone is an agent or a person. These are all trust issues. And then presence layers, when we say that, we mean people and agents being able to have a presence above web pages, and you being able to see them if they decide to be visible. If you decide to be visible and they decide to be visible, you'll see these people. Renat?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, are we going to use this in the meta layer?
We're gonna definitely over the next year or so, we're going to be looking at how we can use meta layer primitives such as these to make AI, human AI coexistence safe and enjoyable.
Okay.
And the last one that I was going to mention is trusted execution environments. So that's basically saying that we can have processes like agents running within a execution environment that is not only private, but it can enforce rules. So the types of things that are possible with that are for a community to say that, for example, we don't want agents to make the first communication to anyone in our community. And if it's done within a trusted execution environment, then that is enforced, and there's no way that the agent can actually call the specific code to reach out, make the first move on a person. Anyone have any questions about the meta layer primitives that we're wanting to work with?
David, is the governance for the layers, can we provide whether it's for personal productivity, if it's for the community, or public civic use for work, is that because the governance would be dependent upon that environment, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've touched upon it. There's going to be individual governance, like how do I personally want to deal with AI or even other people, and then there's going to be the community-based governance, and then there's going to be the overall layer, like the overweb or the meta layer will have its own top level governance as well. So you have multiple governance layers that can be applicable.
Okay, cool.
I have a question. Can you tied the primitives of MetaLayer into knowledge gardens?
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
I think it's very, very much aligned. Jack, would you like to take that on?
Well, the original knowledge garden concept was based on topic mapping, which is a meta layer above, it's a map of a whole territory, which is the web. And you specifically create different topic map applications for such things as people, places, and things, or physics, chemistry, and biology, etc., because they have slightly different vocabularies, except what you do is you make it so that they can interact with each other. And that's knowledge gardening, is tending that kind of a garden. And so in essence, the meta layer activities that you're talking about is knowledge gardening.
Yes, absolutely. But if we look at the primitives alone, well, if left untended, we may not reach the trust, the validation, the sharing of perspectives, the building of shared consciousness that we are after. I think it's not necessarily going to happen spontaneously if we only stay at the level of the primitives as such.
So that's a really, really good point. And if you think of those primitives as like tires and shock absorbers and springs and seats in your car, they don't make the car until they're all assembled. And so it's the execution, the trusted execution environment that brings them all together. And that's, you make soup out of chopping vegetables and some of this and some of that and a lot of herbs and spices and whatever. But those things alone sitting on the table don't mean anything. They're just there, and if you don't do anything, they rot. So you have to put them into some water, and you have to stir them and heat them and cook them to the right degree, and then they all magically turn into this very flavorful whatever it is you're making. And so the meta layer isn't just an idea. It's an execution of a bunch of very important ideas together.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize that this is just a beginning list of primitives, and there may be many, many more. And if we came up with new ones, that's great. And I kind of see the topic garden application is a form of overlay. And I think there may be is there maybe something like a smart tag?
Yeah. A smart tag that would enable the user, as a personal agent to call out the rules, their preferences, which are their trusted agents are, and have the user build in rules, right? Build in to the platform what they want for privacy, for what they want for protection, just to have that interface as you're going is the personal rules, right? They're very different than corporate rules. You might not be in a corporate setting. You might want to make sure that you're in an environment that is trusted.
I think that is wonderful. Wonderful in terms of the flow of information from the user into the system, that we stop being so invaded, intruded, and exploited, like Nada and Salva were saying, and that everyone can modulate their privacy and protection. In terms of what comes to us, can we trust what we see? What's shown here, well, it says this is not a person, it's an AI agent, etc. So you could think of the meta layer as collective hunt for sources of misinformation, which could turn into an exponential whack-a-mole, given that machines have a much bigger capacity than we do. But the basis of trust of what comes to us, what we are able to find on the page and above the page, would be based on some more profound ways to validate it.
Exactly. You're so right. I'm going to capture this thought right now because what you just said is brilliant, right? If I would offer up my visual in real time with a timestamp, with GPS location tag, especially if I was working on a work project or even the personal call turned into a professional call, if you needed to tag me to make sure that I'm not being simulated, which occurs today, right? You're spoofed, and it's so dangerous. But if there were ways, at different levels to check that, I'd be willing, right, to do a selfie or an online, real-time video, or, like holding up a newspaper if you're kidnapped. But like that, I'm just in real time. There are times when we're going to need to capture more data. And I think that the user, I know personally, the user would go, yeah, identify me as really who I am.
Yes. And in terms of trusting what we see, I think that the deeper thing would be a way to validate the concepts. So not just identity of contributors, but the way the concepts and the facts are shared need to be validated. And Maxim has his hand up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to share. For last year and a half, I spent working and doing research around alignment, trust, and safety of AI. And I have a system that basically jails agents able to measure alignment, able to measure behavior. And that was interesting realization like 2 months ago. And I couldn't figure out what's happening because when I talk to general audience, people want this. When I go and I start chasing partnership in corporate world, people really, they see what I'm building, but there is no partnerships that happening. People kind of check out. And at first I thought that I'm too early, but down the line, I realized that trust and safety systems give measurable accountability. And that's what people in corporate world don't really want. Because all of a sudden, there's consequences to my actions that are visible and transparent, and people hide behind the narrative, will it slow down the progress? But reality is now there's a measurable impact that I'm having on people, and I don't want that. Because as somebody, and I spent a long time working in corporate innovation, when I'm in that environment, the game becomes we need to innovate, but at the same time, we need to protect ourselves. Because sentiment is not if we're going to get sued. Question is when we're going to get sued. And it's kind of innovation in corporate world is really about trying to be a couple of days ahead of firing squad for them. Because they know what's happening. They see the impact, but they have no idea what to do with that. And it's I love this conversation because just for last year and a half, I felt like, am I losing my mind? What am I not getting around the AI safety?
My years in corporates completely, wholeheartedly support your conclusion is that they don't want visible, transparent consequences to their actions. And by they, I mean anyone with some kind of agency. So yeah, there's so many taboos, and we explicit blocks when people try to connect actions and consequences and actually measure whether what we are saying we want to achieve is happening. What's the gap between expectation and actuality? So much wishful thinking when setting up innovation budgets instead of actual logic. So that's incredible. So I think that goes to what my hope is if we think about knowledge gardens from what Jack put in the signal, which is if you have a really rich functionality to be able to create these causal links and concept translations and be able to validate what you're encountering in any kind of content over the page or on the page. I wonder how we could incorporate that into meta layer as a path to truth or a sum of different perspectives and beliefs that has some kind of validation mechanism in it. Otherwise, it's just a huge, untrimmable sea of unreconciled, ungrounded things, if that makes sense. Oh, sorry, Jack also has his hand up.
Well, first of all, to build on two things that were just said, we have to be reminded of what happened when Anthropic told the U.S. government, you cannot use our platform for killing people with humans not in attendance. In other words, self-automated. And so the government said, well, screw you, and they blackballed them and blah, blah, blah. And the next day, OpenAI come and said, oh yeah, you can use OpenAI, no problem. What happened was Claude started getting thousands of new users, and OpenAI lost thousands of users.
Yeah. I know, and they doubled the time amount. Did you see that? Where they which is clever, right? There was like, what is it? Was times 50% more usage, and it just caused a huge sign on.
Jack?
And then what Mildred was saying is you need a community memory that is trustworthy. Doesn't have to be true. It just has to be trustworthy, by which I mean it isn't affected by advertisers swaying the way the scale reads, and it isn't affected by AI blathering on when it doesn't know what it's talking about. It's the best that humans could assemble and justify. And then that becomes the anchors for conversations around points of dispute. You want the contests out there, and you want them legitimately out there, and you want civil conversations, structured ones, around those contested issues to surface more information by humans. They can have an AI assist, but it has to be human. It has to be trustworthy. So you're building a community memory, and that's truly one of the primitives of the meta layer. It's why I started with topic maps as the meta layer. If you take a look at hypothesis is a kind of human memory, but without the topic map. What it is you can go out on the web and you can annotate a page and you can put tags on it, and other people will notice that tag and use it elsewhere, and those tags create a graph, but the hypothesis didn't go the full distance and give you that graph of how the things wire up. but it's still a community memory because people will come in, read your annotations, and say, "Hey, I want to challenge that." And now you have a conversation right in that meta layer.
That's a great point. By the way, so do you shared context in my mind is, community memory, but I think it's totally fine if we want to start referring to it as community memory as opposed to shared context, or maybe we use both phrases. Let's see.
Well, so I think I like community memory because community memory has a history in the study of basically evolutionary epistemology, the way communities learn. They learn by sharing their ideas and then recording them. And some of that recording ends up in the library, some of it ends up on the chalkboard at school, some of it ends up it's various places and it's dispersed. But we now have the opportunity with the web to make it permanent and immutable. You can't change it. You want to say, okay, we finally disagreed with that point. That's fine, we've disagreed. But here's the history of how we got there so that people can come and learn from the history.
Yeah. Just imagine if we had that from 1,000 years ago. Our understanding of history would be completely different. I mean, not completely, but it would be somewhat different. And history would probably be different, right? If this was available for there to be a community memory from 1,000 years ago, and we had anybody who wanted to provide their perspective was able to do it and put it in the right place, and everyone could find it and comment on it, history would be different. Dee?
When Jack was talking, it just triggered another experience I have when I go on my phone. I have a warning that it thwarted, 90 different threats when I start engaging with my phone using my device. And I see this meta layer also being able to let me know uh, what's happening outside of my community with the topic that I'm interested in, that maybe it's being misused or there's some distortion in its understanding, so that I'm aware that the topic is alive and that it's being used in a context other than what my community is interested in preserving and contributing to. So this could be maybe a little bit more advanced, looking outside of the community for the chatter that may matter. Okay.
Chatter that may matter. I like that. Awesome.
But I love, and I know Amelia sent me some things about the Jack's the knowledge garden and how it's weaving. It's so beautiful how all of these concepts are kind of coming together, and we really do need to write this so that it's it it gets synthesized into something that we could further represent and get other people to immediately jump on, because we're carrying over lots of concepts, and while I love it, I think people that aren't in the know need to have our level of understanding because it's coming together so nicely.
I first used the term knowledge garden in Seoul, South Korea in 2007. I was invited to give a talk, and my talk was ostensibly about just-in-time learning. And the reason for that talk was that Koreans had become very wealthy and their kids didn't want to work and they needed workers. So where were they going to get them? They're going to have to train them on the job just in time. But they told me that's the title of your talk. However, you can say anything you want. And so I decided to introduce the idea of lifelong learning, which is stimulated by something I called knowledge gardening, where you aggregated all of your ideas and learnings in this community memory. And the term stuck there. They really liked it. The you can come back to Google and you can look up Knowledge Garden and you'll find all kinds of children's playgrounds called Knowledge Gardens, and that's to be expected. But the term knowledge gardening today has been superseded by a new term called knowing gardening. Because knowledge gardening is not an active term, but knowing is an active term. So we talk now about knowing gardens. And our epistemic communities to do this are called knowing hubs.
Awesome.
And so they can use the Metaweb to tie them all together in a federation. That's the whole point of the community memory, is to tie all of these disparate conversations all over the planet together so everybody can learn from everybody else.
Excellent. Wow, this has been such a rich conversation. And there are at least 3 different ideas around the meta layer, and probably more. Renat has one that she sent me, and we can talk about that next week. Then there's I think the knowledge garden. We should think about how it could be implemented within this framework and start doing that. I mean, it's a great idea. And then there was one other one. What was Milia was talking about how we can use it to unearth truth and just help us better understand what's true and what we can trust. So I think maybe next week we can talk about it. Just to, quite frankly, no one else showed up for any of the other sessions except for Renat and my friend Niall. So I had 4 more sessions planned, and I did do a little bit of outreach. I didn't do as much as I could because I was working on other things. So I think that I'm going to cancel those other sessions, and I would suggest that next week that we pick up here, and if people are open to it, we could explore those 3 ideas. And just go in depth. And Maxim, I want to say I'm really interested in learning more about your work. If you want to put your links in there, I'd love to connect with you, and I'm sure
Me
other people
too.
would as well. And then the other thing I wanted to say was, I think there's an article in there that really needs to be in the AI safety corpus about your experience. So, we would be happy to host the article if that was something of interest to you. And it's great to see you. And
yeah, I put my contacts. Please reach out.
Awesome. And everybody, thank you so much. Wow, we had just so much insight in this call coming from all across the world. I really appreciate you all. And if you want to open up your mic and say goodbye, you can.
Bye.
Bye.
All right,
Thank you,
everyone.
David. Thank you
Go
very much.
Meta.
Thank you.
Thanks, all of you. This was outstanding, David. Thank you so much.
All right, go Meta.
Bye.
All
Go
right.
Meta.